What if everything you've been taught about money was upside down? What if the real secret to wealth was not about working harder or longer, but about building a system so money keeps flowing whether you show up or not? Let me paint a picture. Imagine two people. One wakes up at 6 a.m., hustles to the office, spends 10 or 12 hours grinding through tasks, and by the end of the month, there's a paycheck. The second person wakes up at 8, goes for a walk, checks their phone to see rental payments, dividends, royalties, and maybe even automated online business income that arrived overnight. The first person is trading time for money. The second person has flipped the game so money works for them. That difference, right there, is the hinge between financial struggle and financial freedom. It's the invisible line between running on the treadmill forever and stepping off to let machines run in your place. Welcome to The Long Game. I'm Nathan, your host, and today we're diving into how money works for you, not the other way around, the mechanics of creating cash flow without trading time for money. This series is about rewiring how you see money. It's about zooming out, looking at the structures that wealthy people quietly build, and realizing that anyone can start if they understand the mechanics. Let's start with the trap. Most people are caught in what I call the time for money cage. It's the system we're trained into since childhood. Study hard, get a job, work hours, collect a salary. And at first, it feels stable. There's comfort in that monthly paycheck, the security of knowing money comes if you put in the hours. But here's the flaw. Your hours are limited. Your energy is finite. You only get one life, one body, one set of 24 hours. And if income only flows when you work, then your wealth is forever capped. Even high-income earners fall into this trap. A lawyer charging $500 an hour still trades hours. A surgeon making thousands per operation still trades operations for pay. If their hands stop working or they burn out, the income stops. There's no leverage in this system, only exhaustion. Now contrast that with people who've built what I'll call cash flow machines. These are structures where the initial effort, risk, or capital creates streams of money that keep running. Think of an apartment building that keeps collecting rent every month, or a portfolio of dividend stocks that drip income quarterly, or intellectual property, books, music, software that earns royalties long after the work is done, or even online businesses that automate sales while the owner is asleep. The mechanics are the same. Disconnect money from time. The wealthy understand that money is a tool. It's not just paper to spend. It's capital that can be deployed to buy or build systems that generate more money. They see money as employees. Imagine each dollar you own as a tiny worker. If you spend it on coffee, that worker's gone. But if you invest it in the right place, that dollar becomes a tireless employee, working 24/7, bringing back more dollars. This is how wealth compounds, through ownership, through systems, through leverage. And here's where it gets interesting. Cash flow is not the same as savings. Many people think stacking cash in the bank equals freedom, but savings alone don't grow. Inflation eats them. Freedom comes from cash flow, the steady streams of income that cover your living costs, so you're no longer trapped in the work for money cycle. This is the foundation of what we'll explore across these 5 parts. We're going to break down the mindset shift, the assets that create cash flow, the strategies for building them even if you're starting small, and the long game that leads to independence. Because the truth is, money doesn't have to be your master. If you build the right mechanics, money can become your servant. In the next part, we'll peel back the layers on the first key mechanic, understanding what qualifies as an asset that generates cash flow versus what only looks like wealth but actually drains your pocket. That's where the real clarity begins. So stay with me. This is the doorway to reprogramming how you think and how money will start working for you. Let's dig into the first principle that separates those who are chained to money from those who free themselves. Knowing the difference between assets that generate cash flow and things that only look like wealth but secretly drain your resources. On paper, it sounds simple. Buy assets, not liabilities. But in practice, people confuse the two all the time. Let's break it down. Imagine someone buys a brand new car. It looks shiny, it smells fresh, it makes them feel successful. They post it online. Friends comment, "Congrats, you've made it." But what happens after? The payments start. The insurance is high. The depreciation begins the second they drive it off the lot. Every month, instead of putting money into your pocket, that car quietly pulls money out. That is a liability disguised as a trophy. Now compare it with another scenario. Someone buys a second-hand property. Not glamorous, not flashy, but rented out to a tenant. The tenant pays monthly rent. That rent covers the mortgage, the upkeep, the taxes, and still leaves extra cash. Month after month, the property puts money into the owner's pocket. That is an asset. The golden rule is this: assets feed you, liabilities eat you. Assets generate cash flow without you needing to show up. Liabilities demand cash flow from you, tying you tighter to your job. But here's the tricky part. The world is designed to push liabilities at you. Advertising glamorizes consumption. Culture tells you success equals the car, the house too big for your needs, the vacations paid for on credit. The financial system profits when you stay in debt. Banks want you hooked on loans because your interest payments become their passive income. To escape, you have to flip your perspective. Before every purchase, ask one question: will this put money into my pocket consistently or take money out? If the answer is in, it's an asset. If it's out, it's a liability. Now, what kinds of assets actually produce cash flow? Let's walk through a few mechanics. First, real estate. Rental properties are one of the oldest, most tested cash flow machines. Someone else pays you to use the space you own. Apartments, houses, even storage units or parking spaces, if managed well, become monthly income streams. You may manage tenants directly, or you may hire a property manager. But the principle is timeless. Land and shelter are always in demand. Second, businesses. But not just any business. What matters is building systems. A small business where you're the only worker is just another job. But if you design it with leverage, employees, automation, distribution networks, it can produce profit even when you step away. Think of McDonald's. Ray Kroc didn't build a hamburger stand, he built a system. The same principle applies whether it's a franchise, an online store, or a software service. Third, paper assets, stocks, bonds, dividends, REITs. These are slices of larger businesses. When you own shares in a company that pays dividends, you're essentially hiring their workers to work for you. You don't manage the company, but your money does. Each quarter,
profits flow back to you. Fourth, intellectual property. Write a book, record music, design software, patent an invention. These can pay royalties long after the work is done. The upfront effort may be intense, but the beauty is in the tail. Income keeps trickling in while you focus elsewhere. Fifth, digital systems. In the modern age, automation has opened new paths. Online courses, subscription platforms, advertising revenue from content, all can be designed to deliver value continuously. Imagine building a YouTube channel that earns ad revenue on videos you uploaded years ago. That's a digital asset. Each of these follows the same mechanic. Build once, get paid repeatedly. That is the essence of passive cash flow. But here's the thing. Building assets requires sacrifice at first. Instead of spending money on comfort or status, you redirect it into machines that will later feed you. In the beginning, it feels slow. It feels like nothing's happening. You might even see friends enjoying new cars, big houses, vacations, while you're buying boring assets. But over time, your assets multiply. They compound. And eventually, their cash flow surpasses what friends make from jobs they hate. Think of it like planting a tree. The first few years, it's just a seedling. You water it, you nurture it, but it doesn't give fruit. Meanwhile, others are buying fruit from the market every day. But one day, your tree matures, and it produces fruit endlessly, year after year. That's the difference between consuming and investing. And here's another truth. Not all assets are equal. Some are stable but slow, like bonds. Some are volatile but high growth, like tech stocks or startups. Some are management heavy, like rental property. Some are scalable and hands-off, like digital products. The art is choosing the right mix for your goals, your personality, your appetite for risk. Wealthy people don't think in terms of working more hours. They think in terms of stacking cash flow machines. Each machine, no matter how small, is another worker on their team. One rental property pays a portion of groceries. One dividend stock covers utility bills. One small business pays for travel. Put enough of these together, and suddenly your life is funded without you needing to clock in. This is why understanding the mechanics matters. If you don't know what counts as an asset, you'll keep buying liabilities, thinking you're getting ahead. But if you train your eye to spot true cash flow machines, you can start building freedom piece by piece. In the next part, we'll go deeper into leverage, how to amplify these assets so they grow faster than you ever could by yourself. We'll explore debt, systems, and compounding as multipliers of wealth. Because once you know what an asset is, the next step is learning how to make it bigger, stronger, and more powerful over time. This is where the game starts to accelerate.
Now that we've drawn the line between true assets and disguised liabilities, it's time to uncover the next gear in the machine: leverage. Leverage is the force multiplier that turns a small seed into a forest, a small stream into a river. Without leverage, growth is linear. With leverage, growth becomes exponential. The wealthy understand this deeply, and they use different forms of leverage: money, time, systems, technology, people, to amplify their results. Let's start with financial leverage. This is what most people think of when they hear the word.
using borrowed money to control larger assets than you could with just your own cash. Take real estate as an example. If you have $50,000, you could buy a small property in cash and collect rent. But with leverage, you could use that $50,000 as a down payment on a $250,000 property. The bank covers the rest, and you control an asset 5 times larger. As long as the rent covers the mortgage and expenses, the tenant essentially pays down your loan, while you keep the cash flow and future appreciation. That's leverage, controlling more than your raw resources allow. But leverage is only one piece. There's also time leverage. You only have 24 hours, but by building systems or hiring people, you can multiply your effectiveness. Think of a business owner who trains employees to run operations. Each employee adds more hours of output beyond the owner's personal capacity. Or think of technology. Automation tools that process thousands of tasks in seconds while the owner focuses on strategy. Then there's knowledge leverage, learning once, applying forever. The wealthy invest heavily in knowledge, not just to know more, but because a single insight, like understanding compounding returns or tax strategies, can produce decades of benefits. Imagine learning how to invest in index funds early. That knowledge alone can be worth millions over a lifetime. Social leverage is another hidden tool. Your network, your partnerships, your reputation, these open doors money can't. A partnership with the right person can scale a project faster than you could ever do alone. Warren Buffett often says, it's better to be in a good business with a good partner than to try to do everything by yourself. And then there's digital leverage. In our era, this is one of the most powerful. You create a piece of content once, and it can reach millions without extra effort. You design a course once, and thousands can take it while you sleep. You code software once, and it can be downloaded endlessly. This is why digital entrepreneurs can achieve scale unimaginable in past centuries, because the cost of replication is almost zero. But here's the caution. Leverage is a double-edged sword. It magnifies gains, but also magnifies mistakes. If you borrow too much and your asset doesn't produce cash flow, the debt buries you. If you hire poorly and don't build systems, your team drains resources. If you apply knowledge without discipline, you gamble instead of invest. That's why leverage requires clarity, discipline, and risk management. Let's illustrate with 2 stories. Imagine 2 friends, Alex and Brian. Alex saves diligently, but he avoids all debt, never invests, and only spends what he earns from his job. After 30 years, he has a modest retirement fund, but he's still tied to his paycheck until late in life. Brian, on the other hand, uses his savings for down payments on rental properties. He borrows responsibly, ensuring each property's rent covers costs. Over 30 years, tenants have paid off most of his mortgages, and he now owns multiple properties producing steady income. Alex worked hard but without leverage. Brian worked smart, using leverage to magnify his efforts. That's the difference leverage makes. Another powerful mechanic of leverage is compounding. Compounding is like a silent partner working in the background. When you reinvest the returns from your investments, those returns generate their own returns. Over time, the growth curve bends upward, almost vertically. Albert Einstein allegedly called compound interest the 8th wonder of the world. Here's an example. If you invest $10,000 at 10% annual returns and spend the gains each year, you'll only ever earn $1,000 annually. But if you reinvest those gains, in 20 years, your $10,000 becomes more than $67,000. In 30 years, it's almost $175,000. In 50 years, it's over $1 million. That's the invisible magic of compounding. Combine leverage with compounding, and the results are astonishing. Imagine using financial leverage to buy an asset that produces steady cash flow, then reinvesting that cash flow into more assets. Over time, each machine funds the next, and the cycle accelerates. That's how dynasties are built. But this requires patience. That's why we call this show the long game. You don't win by chasing fast money or gambling on trends. You win by building machines, applying leverage responsibly, and letting compounding do its quiet work year after year. Think of wealth building as constructing a flywheel. At first, it's heavy, hard to push. You strain and it barely moves. But with consistent effort, it starts spinning. Then momentum builds. Soon, the wheel turns almost by itself, powered by its own weight. That's what a portfolio of leveraged compounding assets feels like after a decade or two. In the next part, we'll take this further. We'll explore how to design your personal cash flow system, step by step, how to choose assets, structure income streams, and align them with your lifestyle so money works for you in a sustainable, resilient way. Because leverage and compounding are powerful, but without a system, they scatter energy. With a system, they create freedom. This is where theory turns into practice.
So far, we've talked about the foundation, understanding assets versus liabilities. We've explored leverage in all its forms: financial, time, knowledge, social, and digital. We've looked at the quiet power of compounding. Now it's time to bring these ideas together into something you can actually design for yourself: a personal cash flow system. Think of this system as your financial engine. Just like an engine in a car has cylinders, pistons, and gears that all work together, your wealth engine is made up of different income streams, risk buffers, and reinvestment strategies. When it's designed properly, it runs smoothly, producing cash flow whether you're actively steering it or not. Let's start at the core: defining your cash flow target. Freedom isn't about owning yachts or private jets. It's about covering your living expenses without trading time for money. So first, calculate your freedom number: how much money you actually need per month to live comfortably. For some, it's $2,000. For others, it's $10,000. The number isn't important. Clarity is. Because once you know that number, you can reverse engineer a system to hit it. Now, how do you build streams of income to reach that number? Think of each stream as a pipeline. Some pipelines take longer to build, but once finished, they deliver water constantly. Pipeline 1: real estate rentals. Whether residential, commercial, or short-term vacation rentals, these assets create steady inflows. The upfront work, financing, management, tenants, is heavier, but the payoff is predictable monthly cash. Pipeline 2: dividend stocks and REITs. By owning shares in companies that pay dividends, you set up quarterly cash deposits into your account. These may start small, but with reinvestment, they snowball. Imagine 100 shares paying 50 cents per quarter. That's $50. Reinvest, and over decades, it grows into hundreds, then thousands. Pipeline 3: digital assets. Online courses, ebooks, content platforms, apps. These are the modern equivalent of intellectual property. You build once, and with the internet as distribution, they scale globally. Unlike real estate or stocks, the cost of replication is near zero. Pipeline 4: businesses with systems. If you own a small business where you're the only worker, that's still trading time. But if you build systems, employees, automation, franchises, that business can produce profit without you in the trenches. Think of a coffee shop owner who never brews coffee because the team runs operations. That's a system.
Pipeline 5. Royalties and creative work. Write music, license photographs, patent an invention, or design a product. These can generate ongoing income from work you did years before. When you layer these pipelines together, you create redundancy. That's critical, because no single stream is permanent. A tenant may move out. A stock may cut its dividend. A platform may change its algorithm. But if you have 5, 6, 7 streams, the system is resilient. Now, let's talk about reinvestment. This is the gear that accelerates the system. In the early stages, don't spend the cash flow. Recycle it into more assets. Let's say your rental property clears $300 after expenses. That $300 can buy more shares. Those shares produce dividends. Those dividends buy more shares. The cycle compounds. Eventually, the streams fund each other, creating a self-feeding engine. Next, risk management. A system that collapses under pressure is no system at all. That's why you need buffers, emergency funds, insurance, diversification. These act like shock absorbers. Without them, a single unexpected expense can knock you back to zero. Wealthy people don't just build, they protect. And here's the hidden layer: aligning the system with your lifestyle. Money is only useful if it supports how you want to live. Some people crave mobility, so digital income streams suit them. Others prefer stability, so real estate works best. Some want impact, so they build businesses around their values. There's no universal blueprint, there's only the system that fits you. Picture this: a family that wants freedom to travel. They calculate they need $5,000 per month. They build 2 rental properties, bringing in $2,000 after costs. Their dividend portfolio contributes another $1,000. An online course they built generates $1,500 monthly, and small royalties from a self-published book add $500. Altogether, $5,000. Now their expenses are covered without jobs. They're free. That's not theory, that's design. But here's where most people stumble. They try to do everything at once. They scatter energy. They buy stocks, dabble in real estate, start a business, launch a course, all half-heartedly. The system fails. The right approach is sequential. Build one pipeline strong before starting the next. Master it, stabilize it, then move on. Think of it like building a fortress. First, you build one strong wall, then another, then towers, then gates. Over time, you have a fortress that defends itself. But if you spread yourself thin, you end up with half-built walls and no protection. So the step-by-step process looks like this. Define your freedom number, choose your first cash flow pipeline, build it until it produces reliable income, reinvest the cash into the next pipeline, diversify until the system is resilient, align it with your lifestyle goals. This is the architecture of financial independence. It's not glamorous, it's not overnight, but it's real. And once built, it changes everything. Because here's the shift. Once your system covers your needs, work becomes optional. You're no longer chained to survival. You can choose projects based on passion, not paycheck. You can scale bigger if you want, or you can coast. That's the real power of money working for you. It gives you back control of your time. In the next part, we'll pull back to the long view. We'll explore the mindset required to stay the course. Patience, discipline, vision. Because mechanics are useless if you don't have the psychological endurance to play the long game. The system works, but only if you keep building, keep reinvesting, and keep resisting the temptations that most people pull off track. This is where wealth becomes not just numbers, but a way of life.
We've walked through the mechanics, identifying true assets, harnessing leverage, compounding your gains, and designing a cash flow system that actually works in the real world. But now we arrive at the most overlooked element, the psychology of staying in the game long enough for all of this to matter. Because here's the truth. Most people don't fail because the math doesn't work. They fail because they quit too early, get distracted, or sabotage themselves. Building cash flow without trading time for money isn't a sprint, it's a marathon. It requires patience, discipline, and the ability to resist shiny distractions. Let's start with patience. Compounding, by definition, takes time. The early years feel painfully slow. You reinvest, but the numbers barely move. This is the stage where most people give up. They want instant results. They chase the latest trend. Crypto today, meme stocks tomorrow, real estate flips the day after. But wealth is rarely built by sprinting from one fad to another. It's built by planting seeds and letting them grow. Patience is the invisible muscle that separates those who reap the rewards from those who abandon the field. Next, discipline. Imagine two investors. Both start with the same $10,000. One invests steadily, month after month, no matter what. The other invests sporadically, pulling money out when the market dips, chasing excitement when the market rises. 10 years later, the disciplined one has built a portfolio double or triple the size. The difference wasn't knowledge, it was consistency. Discipline means showing up for your financial system the same way an athlete shows up for training, whether or not they feel like it. Vision is equally critical. Without a clear why, the grind feels pointless. Why delay gratification? Why reinvest instead of spending? The answer must be bigger than money. Maybe it's freedom to spend time with your children. Maybe it's security for aging parents. Maybe it's the ability to pursue creative passions without worrying about bills. When your vision is clear, sacrifice feels like strategy, not suffering. Another psychological trap is lifestyle inflation. This is the silent killer of financial freedom. As income grows, people increase spending to match. New cars, bigger houses, more expensive vacations. Suddenly, the freedom number you calculated before keeps moving higher. You're running in place. The wealthy avoid this by keeping their lifestyle steady while their cash flow grows. That gap, the surplus, becomes fuel for reinvestment. Let's talk about resilience. There will be setbacks. Tenants leave, markets crash, businesses fail, assets underperform. The difference is how you respond. The poor mindset sees failure as the end. The wealthy mindset sees it as tuition, a lesson paid for in money but valuable in wisdom. Every mistake sharpens your judgment. Every loss makes the system stronger if you learn from it. And here's a paradox. True freedom comes not when you stop working, but when you choose what kind of work to do. Many financially free people continue to work, not because they have to, but because they want to. They launch passion projects, mentor others, or create art. The pressure is gone, but the purpose remains. Money gives you the option to design your life around meaning, not survival. Think about Warren Buffett. He could have retired decades ago. He doesn't need another dollar, but he continues investing because he loves the game. Or think about authors who continue writing even after bestsellers. Or musicians who keep creating long after their fortune is secure. The point is, when money works for you, work transforms into play. The long game is about engineering not just financial systems, but also personal systems, habits, mindset, routines that sustain your journey. Here are a few guiding principles to keep you anchored. Play infinite games. Don't chase short-term wins at the expense of long-term sustainability. Ask yourself, will this decision still make sense in 10 years? Focus on controllables. You can't control the market. You can't control global events. But you can control savings, spending, education, and diversification. Detach identity from income. You're not your paycheck. You're the architect of a system. Whether income is high or low today, what matters is the trajectory. Celebrate small wins. Every new pipeline, every reinvested dividend, every debt paid down, these are victories worth acknowledging. Small wins compound into big wins. Keep learning. The world evolves. Technology changes. Opportunities shift. Stay curious, adapt, and upgrade your playbook. At the end of the day, money is just energy. It flows to where it is treated with respect, discipline, and vision. If you waste it, it leaves you. If you trap it in stagnant accounts, it erodes. But if you deploy it into systems, it multiplies. Treat each dollar as a tiny worker. Give it a job. Send it to build more streams, and watch as your financial army grows. When you no longer trade time for money, you gain the ultimate asset, freedom. Freedom to choose your time, freedom to live aligned with your values, freedom to design a life on your own terms. That's the end game. Not riches for their own sake, but control over your destiny. So as we close this series, remember the mechanics are real. The tools exist. The system is buildable. But it's not about luck or timing. It's about discipline, patience, and persistence. Wealth is a long game, and those who win are the ones who keep playing long after others quit. Money was never meant to be your master. Train it, build with it, multiply it, and let it serve you. That's how you flip the script. That's how you build a life where cash flow works tirelessly in the background while you step fully into the front stage of your own life. And that, my friends, is how money works for you, not the other way around.